Hello and welcome back to part 2 of my playthrough of the Scoop. This is Tuesday. As I mentioned in the last video, I've played this game several times, and one thing I remember is that there's something that I want to grab in Oliver's flat, so I'm going to go do that right now. It's a cardinal rule of video games. Take anything that isn't nailed down. While rummaging beneath Oliver's bed, you discover a mousetrap that had not previously been sprung. Ow. Oliver's journal is here. Now, so I don't have a repeat of my last mistake, I'm going to pick up and look at Oliver's journal right now. Monday's entry in Oliver's journal is a single line underscored 3 times. Rid of Johnson, my way is clear. Well, that's unsettling. One moment while I make a note of that. Now let me head over to Brighton for the inquest. Normally, I'm leaving a little earlier than this. I spent more time talking to people last night than I normally do when I'm playing through this game, but I should still be able to get there in time. I guess you're going down to Brighton for the inquest. From what I gather, there ought to be a clue or two as to who killed that chap in the phone box last night. Now, the tricky thing about traveling by train in this game is that they only leave every hour on the hour, which means that even though it's 9:18 a.m., I'm not going to be able to catch the train until 10, and it'll be 11 by the time I get to Brighton. Modeled after a medieval castle festooned with pennants, the Brighton station welcomes its holiday visitors. Now, there's no actual holiday that I'm aware of, but in Britain, they use the word holiday like us Americans use vacation, so I think that's what it means here. Here we are at the courthouse, and it looks like I'm right on time for the inquiry, thankfully. And of course, Oliver is here too. Were you acquainted with Miss Geraldine Tracy? I knew her quite well as Miss Geraldine Potts. We worked together at Madame Evanalda's. We became quite chummy, you know. She was my dearest friend, and I dare say I was hers. Did Mrs. Tracy ever mention any relatives to you? She did mention her brother Arthur from time to time, and then there was her Mr. Tracy. I never actually met Mr. Tracy, but Geraldine always said he was really quite the gentleman, well dressed, kind, and quite generous. He brought her the most wonderful gifts. He was absolutely wild over her. Were the two of them ever married? Geraldine told me that they were to be married and then they would reside in Brighton. But if there was a ceremony, I was never invited. That seems most irregular, doesn't it? It stands to reason that Geraldine would invite her best friend to her own wedding. And that concludes Amethyst Manwaring's testimony. As you can see, there's someone else here waiting to give testimony, but I'm going to see if I can get anything out of Manwaring while she's here. But first, I'll save. As I said before, I'm going to do this anytime I'm about to do something that might end up being a waste of time, so that I can backtrack. I really must return to London today. Perhaps we can meet tomorrow evening in Madame Evanalda's. It's just off of Piccadilly. I'll be free around 7. Okay, so I can talk to Manwaring tomorrow around 7. Let me make a note of that. Now, let's see who this ostentatious looking fellow is. Ah, it's Mr. Fisher. He was brought up yesterday. I really can't speak with you now. I am quite distraught over the death of my dear Geraldine. This is all too much for me. Perhaps you could come to my shop on North Street tomorrow afternoon. Okay, so I can talk to him tomorrow afternoon too. Let's see what information Mr. Fisher can give us. Did you go to visit Mrs. Tracy on the evening of Saturday, November 7th?
Yes, sir. I had an appointment with Mrs. Tracy at 9 o'clock Saturday evening. Her husband, Mr. Tracy, is a commercial traveler. He was to be away that weekend.
Tell the court about the events of Saturday evening.
I arrived by car at Mrs. Tracy's bungalow. I knocked and rang several times. Finally, I became rather annoyed and decided to try the door. To my great surprise, it was unlocked. I entered and passed straight from the lobby into a sitting room. There, to my horror, I nearly stumbled over the body of my dear Geraldine. She had been dead for quite some time.
What did you do after you discovered her body?
Well, after a bit, I drove back to Brighton. I drove about a long time and thought over what was best to be done. In the end, about midnight, I rang up the police. It has been a great shock to me. A great shock. I've got a weak heart. A very weak heart.
Quite so. So unsurprisingly, when I was a kid playing this game, it totally went over my head that Fisher and Tracy were having an affair. Okay, Fisher doesn't seem to be in any hurry to leave, so let me move things along. Just gonna save before I talk to this lady. Okay, tell me a little about yourself.
I guess I'd know more about what goes on in that bungalow than anyone else. Imagine them going after Mr. Fisher and not even looking up Tracy. He's the one who did it.
Oh, I thought I'd actually get more information out of her. Oh well. When did you last see the deceased?
3 o'clock Saturday afternoon. I was going off. I usually left earlier, but she wanted an extra bit of cooking done. I wasn't to come back till Monday morning. That's how we did it whenever she had a little game on.
A guest was expected for the weekend?
Yes, she said it was her husband, but I knew it was Fisher coming. She wouldn't have taken the pains she did getting ready for Tracy. Either way, it was all my eye. Even if it was Tracy coming, that would not make him a husband. I know what's what. Gentlemen only come down for the weekend and call themselves commercial travelers. Funny kind of husband,
Please confine yourself to answering my questions. Now, you last saw Mrs. Tracy at 3 o'clock. Was her manner pretty much as usual? Was she worried or upset in any way?
No, the opposite. Manicuring her nails she was, and going to get all talked up. Oh, I know it was Mr. Fisher coming, all right. Next day I heard what happened. You could have knocked me over with a feather. What? Said I. Murdered?
That will be all, Miss Shop. All right, so that was the rather colorful testimony of Miss Sharp. Let's see who's next. Why, it's my old friend the inspector. I haven't really shown how weight works, so let me do it right now. See, the inspector goes from pacing back and forth to walking into the next room. So now I can see what new information the inspector has for us. It would help if I picked the right command. Will you be so kind as to detail for the court your investigation on the night of November 7th?
Certainly, sir. We received a call from midnight from Mr. Fisher concerning a murder at the bungalow of Mrs. Geraldine Tracy. We went directly to the scene of the crime, entering at 1 a.m. Upon entering the building, we came across the body of Mrs. Tracy, stabbed in the back, quite dead. There was no sign of struggle. No weapon was found. What did the medical examination reveal? The young woman had been stabbed in the back by a sharp instrument with a narrow triangular blade. Her heart had been penetrated and death was fairly instant. The wound could not have been self-inflicted. The deceased expired between 7 and 9:30. It is impossible to be more precise than that. Did you interview Mr. Fisher that night? Yes, sir. We arrived at Mr. Fisher's flat at 2:30. He was awake, although quite haggard and obviously under the influence of alcohol. He detailed his movements for us and told us that he had been engaged in an illicit affair with Mrs. Tracy for the past 2 months.
So aside from an approximate time of death, there wasn't really much that I didn't already know in there. And it looks like that's it for the inquest. I guess I'll start doing my own investigating now. Let's see what else Brighton has to offer while I'm here. But first, I'll ask Inspector Smart about the new people I found out about during the inquest.
This man Potts' story seems to check out. Conceivably, Tracy could have posed as Potts when Oliver found him out at the bungalow. We can't be certain until we go to Southampton. I think he's actually referring to an event that hasn't happened yet.
That can happen in a game like this. There's only so many pre-programmed responses, so I guess they weren't expecting me to talk to Smart until later on in the game. Okay, well, let's see what's going on at the Lido. Whoa! Well, looky here. It appears that Gladys Sharp and Dennis Oliver are sitting down for tea and gossip.
All along I've had my doubts about those two. Always sent away for the weekend. And, oh, the state of the place on Monday morning. Not so much as a teaspoon washed. Everything piled in the kitchen sink. The airs she gave herself.
Very trying. Have another eclair. Seems rather odd that Tracy hasn't come forward, don't you think?
Not he. Tracy murdered her, all right. They were having rows, you know, and at hammer and tongs. Who could blame her? Shut up like that in a lonely hole. Why, she'd have to walk to the bus, and the bus leaves only once an hour. Takes almost an hour to get to Brighton. It'd drive me batty. He did it, of course. Who else could have?
Well, what about our friend Fisher, the man on the hook?
Mr. Fisher's a nice gentleman. No, I'd guess Tracy came down and found out her game with Fisher. They had a row and he did her in. From what she said, he was a jealous sort of fellow. Then she had a bit of a temper too. This very last Friday, she cursed me like a fishwife just for trying an ornamental jade-headed pin of hers in my hair. What was the harm, I ask?
Huh. A jade-headed pin. Why does that sound familiar?
You've certainly put up with an awful lot. Won't you have a bit of this chocolate delight?
So, now I know that the murder weapon was apparently a pin that belonged to Mrs. Tracy. Okay, another save file. Lido. Whoa. Okay, what to do now? Well, since Ms. Sharp is here, I guess I might as well talk to her.
This Oliver fellow is a sweet young man. Whatever woman catches him for a husband will be mighty lucky, I'd say.
Okay, and now it looks like I have to wait for Oliver to leave to talk to her more. Now, let's find out what this chatty Cathy has to say.
I was lately employed by Mrs. Tracy. Mrs. Catesby was my mistress before her. I've put up with an awful lot, I have. Cleaning rich folks' houses and all.
Yes, she is the eternal victim. Now let's find out what she has to say about other people.
I met Mr. Tracy only once as I was going off. He was middling height, darkish, had a moustache, he did. Wouldn't give me the time of day. There was added to. Monday mornings, Geraldine would tell me all about their rows.
For those of you like me who are not from the United Kingdom, rows are arguments.
Mr. Fisher's a gentleman, he is. Always a, hello, how are you? Always bringing a little gift for Geraldine. He's not the murdering type, you know. That'd be a brother Arthur. I've seen a letter or two of his around. He's a steward out in Southampton. Who?
Oh, that went nowhere.
Mr. Oliver's a very sweet young man. Treated me to pastries after the inquest. He certainly knows how to talk to people.
Trying to see if there's anyone else I could ask her about.
Geraldine chatted about her from time to time. My, what wild things they did together. That newsman that was killed? No, I didn't know him. Was he your friend?
And last but not least.
My, what a temper she had. got on me like a fishwife just Friday last because I tried on a jade hairpin of hers. What was the harm, I ask? Why, she was just as bad as my last mistress, Mrs. Catesby. Both of them treated me just like scum. It's so hard to find a decent employer these days.
Now, I haven't done a lot of this, but I'm going to ask about her whereabouts on the nights of the murders.
Monday I spent at the registry in Brighton. I need to find a new job, you know. I walked around a bit, met up with some chums of mine, picked up a racing form, and then I had a couple of drinks and went to bed. I took in the evening races at Brighton Downs, then spent my winnings at the Cat and Fence. I was there until 9 p.m. Then I went home and put myself to bed.
Well, I certainly learned a lot of stuff from Ms. Sharp. A lot of it very gossipy, but that is bread and butter for a newspaper reporter like myself. Time to move on and see what else I can discover today. Right here is the bus that Ms. Sharp said that Geraldine Tracy had to take every day, so let's head down to her stomping grounds. Much like the train, the bus only leaves on the hour, and it takes an hour to get to its location, so I'm going to have to wait until 4 p.m. for the bus to arrive, and then I'll be at my destination at 5. So that's 2 hours gone from my day. That's why time management is so important in this game. And it looks like Dennis Oliver had the same idea I did. Since I used up 2 precious hours, let me save before I do anything else. I got mad at the cheat for screwing up the jumble caper. Now, onward and upward. Excelsior. Right here we have the Cat and Fence pub, which Ms. Sharp mentioned earlier. And well, what have we here? Let's eavesdrop on Ms. Sharp and Mr. Fisher. This should be interesting.
You really oughtn't to have done it. It wasn't the proper way.
Well, la-dee-da. You're one to talk about proper. You got what you wanted, didn't you? Anyway, she had it coming, and I'm certain the jewels won't be missed. Not the way she left them laying about.
But if somehow they were traced, they would become a most ruinous piece of evidence.
Now, don't you worry yourself about any bits of evidence. Of course, you could simply give the jewels back. I'm certain to make a pretty penny on them at the track.
Don't be absurd. Bring them by tomorrow noon. You know I can't let you... Say, isn't that Mr. Anderson at the next table?
Well. That was a very interesting conversation. Ms. Sharp stole some jewels, and Mr. Fisher is worried that they could be used as evidence. I'm going to make a note of that. Tomorrow noon. And with that, let me save. And since Ms. Sharp claims she was here during one of the murders, let me talk to the bartender.
I was thinking about that Hargett bloke. He got drunk and started a big row this last Saturday. If he does it again, he'll have to go to Brighton for his drink.
Okay, no idea who Hargett is. Maybe I'll find out later. Okay, who should I ask him about?
She was a looker, she was. Made sure you noticed as well. I helped carry some bags to her place once or twice. Sure glad my missus didn't see. There's that young newsman what got murdered. He stopped in last Monday, all in a tizzy. Made a call on that there phone, then got on a bus back to Brighton.
Okay, so that must have been the phone call he made after he discovered the murder weapon. I doubt this guy knows too many people involved in the case, and time's a-wasting, so I gotta be careful who I ask him about.
Mr. Fisher started stopping in regular about 2 months back. Seems he had a bit of business with that shopwoman. They'd have a drink and talk it over, then he'd drive down to the bungalow. Gladys is regular around here. Used to work for Mrs. Catesby up on Mainston Avenue in Brighton. Now that Mrs. Tracy is gone, she'll be looking for work again. Just as last Saturday, I saw this Tracy bloke step off the bus around 7 o'clock. He walked out of the bungalow, then came straight back and caught the next bus into Brighton. Looked a bit fidgety, he did.
Okay, I don't think there's anyone else I can ask him about, so let's move on. But I did pick up some information here. Most importantly, it appears that Johnson was here around the time of the murder. I'm pretty sure there's a reason why they have a location called the Hollow Tree right here, but I'll check it out on my way back. Uh-oh, looks like we got Oliver and some kind of sailor-looking guy here.
What in blazes are you doing coming out of that door?
And why not, I'd like to know. I've got more right to be here than you have, I bet. This here bungalow is Geraldine Tracy's, and I'm her brother, Arthur Potts. What the heck do you got to say to that?
Perhaps you ought to explain what you're doing inside.
I was down to Brighton today on business when I seen the news that Geraldine had been killed. So I walked out here to have a look about. Since there was no one here and this door was open, I got in. What's the harm in that, I ask?
Scotland Yard might think there's something strange about it. You better tell me about yourself.
I got nothing to hide. I'm a steward on the Southern Rail Boat Service from Southampton to Le Havre. I stewards the night run. I gotta get at 7 o'clock for Brighton as I works an 11 o'clock boat tonight. I lives in Southampton. You can call me housekeeper any time.
And with that, Mr. Potts stomps off. Well, I guess as the door is open, I might as well check out the scene of the Tracy murder. But before I do that, let me jot down some notes. And we're walking. I'm just going to do a room-by-room search. There is a bloody footprint in the middle of the entryway rug. Your year spent selling shoes finally pays off. You are able to determine that the footprint is size 11 triple E. I don't know British foot sizes that well, but 11 triple E sounds pretty big. A chalk silhouette of Mrs. Tracy's body marks the spot where she fell that fateful Saturday night. By the way, in real life, they do not use chalk outlines because it can contaminate the crime scene. You notice the carpet is stained from a rather heavy flow of blood. And then I just walk right into blood. Very nice. A heavy down comforter and 4 feather pillows make the nuptial bed look most inviting. Under the stack of pillows, you find a letter postmarked November 3rd. I believe that's just a couple days before the murder. I wonder if this letter is why Mr. Potts was checking out the house. Dear Sis, glad to hear you got a place with a fine gentleman looking after you. I'll come round sometime when business brings me by. Don't tell hubby about our private affair. The big boy can be rough. Love, Arthur. This letter is very interesting. It makes it sound like Arthur Potts and Geraldine Tracy were not siblings, and also that Geraldine Tracy may not have been married to Mr. Tracy. Let's see what else this area has to offer. And just like any good mystery, this is full of plenty of twists and turns. Set in a damp dale, surrounded by barren trees, the bungalow looks like the least inviting place in Britain. Nice. The wood around the door handle has been gouged, as though someone recently jimmied the door. So maybe it wasn't unlocked like Mr. Potts said it was. And if that's the case, then he definitely wanted to get in and find something. I might as well take a look at this place while I'm here, too. This untended expanse gives one a sense of dampness and isolation. While exploring, you discover several hidden mole holes and a nasty bramble that snags and tears your coat. I don't know about you, but I'm sold on this place as a great place to live. The litter of broken and abandoned toys indicates that many children are accustomed to playing in the yard. I guess this is where that Hargett guy that the bartender mentioned lives. Alright, talking to this woman might end up being a complete waste of time, so I'm going to save before I do it.
I'll tell you what's what, all right? I'm about to leave me husband, I am. After I've given the best years of my life and bought him 5 kids, how does he pay me back? I'll tell you how, by becoming a sot. Spends nearly all his wage on drink and won't lift a finger when he's round the house. I've had enough, I have. Mr. Tracy come up regular as clockwork on the weekends. He looked the gentleman's part all right in his fine clothes. None too flammy. Fisher took up with him 2 months back. Always made a point of coming about when the other gent was off. I haven't met him. She's a spiteful one, she is. Always showed up at tea time gossiping about Mrs. Tracy. She come by pleased as punch the day after the poor woman had been murdered. I haven't met him.
Okay, so Oliver hasn't been by here yet.
I seen him stooping about Monday last. Didn't think a thing about it. What with all them people been crying in the yard? She was a regular minx, she was. Keeping two men and lazing around the house all day. I expected no good to come of it. I was right here minding the brats while my husband was off carousing. I seen Tracy walk up the lane about 7:15. He left off 15 minutes later. What a short visit for her husband, thought I. Then round 9, that fat bloke drove up in his big car. Run off, he turns round and goes screeching away.
All right, so that confirms what we've heard about Johnson and Fisher of the night of the murder. I didn't really learn anything new, but I think I'll just keep going from here. I can always go back to a previous save if it turns out later I missed something. Now is as good a time as any to go check out that hollow tree. You easily identify the hollow tree where Johnson found the weapon. 3 distinct footprints are at the base of the tree. The footprints are sizes 8E, 6D, and 9DD. I have a couple thoughts about that. First off, I was expecting only 2 sets of footprints, Johnson and the murderer, so I'm not sure who the third set of footprints would belong to. And also, none of those footprints match the one that I saw inside Tracy's house. So it's possible that the footprint I saw inside the house was Mr. Potts, which would mean he has nothing to do with the murder. Okay, so there's still some time for today, so I think I'm going to head down to the Morning Star. That is the newspaper that Johnson and Oliver work at. I'm going to see if there's anything I can dig up over there. Okay, I gotta hustle because moving between screens does take up time. So I gotta make sure it's still 8 o'clock when I get to the train station, because that way it'll be 9 o'clock when I get to Victoria Station. Otherwise, if it's like 8:01 when I get to the train station, then it'll be 10 o'clock when I get to the train station, when I get to Victoria Station. Made it. Oh, and Oliver's here. On to the Morning Star. So, am I following Oliver, or is he following me? Well, this is his place of work, so it makes sense that he would be here. Okay, here's someone new. Actually, since I don't know anything about this person, maybe I should wait to talk to her. Let me look around and see what else there is to see here. The stench of overflowing ashtrays, unwashed teacups, and day-old pastries permeates this room. A close examination of the pastry tray reveals one cake that has not been picked at, bitten, or licked. Fascinating. The cacophony of typewriters, telephones, rustling papers, and hustling reporters is of ear-splitting proportions. Poking through Oliver's desk reveals he does floss his teeth in public. Oh, here's someone else. Oh, it's Mr. Redmond. I feel like I've heard that name. Yeah, hold on. Let me save before I talk to this guy. I'd rather you not came around here, Mr. Anderson. You leave a haze in the newsroom. I'm the night editor for the Morning Star. I work nights and I keep to myself pretty much. I've been in this business 25 years and I know more than you'll ever learn. Real nice guy. I'll ask him about Johnson first and then the other people who work here with him. Johnson was a bright boy who seemed as if he were going far in the news business. Oh, we had our differences from time to time. He was a bit wet behind the ears. Got a little in over his head this time, I might say. It's a sad case, a tragic loss for the Morning Star. Oliver is the best reporter we've got. It's a shame Hemingway didn't put him on the Jumble story.
I doubt he'd have been stabbed like Johnson was. Oliver's too careful for that. Hemingway is, perhaps, the most respected newsman in England. It's an honor to share the desk with him. He's the one who took Johnson's last call. I'd rather not speculate into who this Tracy might be. Could be any of a million blokes. I'll not waste my time chatting about it. I always like it when one of these nouveau riche fellows get involved in a sordid affair. It sells a lot of copies. Let the fat roast in the fire, I always say. I certainly don't know any fellow named Potts. That would be the late Mrs. Tracy's maid. Oliver was talking about her a bit. Sounds like a nasty sort, but I rather doubt she's involved in this affair. Miss Timmins is a local gossip around here. Seems to have a word to say about everything. Not that anyone believes her. I was acquainted with Miss Mainwaring for a brief period, but once I found out what type of woman she was, I steered clear of her. I haven't seen her in quite some time. Sounds like she was quite a minx. Imagine a young woman playing two men that way. I'd say she got what she deserved. Miss Blackwood is a most efficient secretary. Has more than a little wit about her. She's quite an alluring young woman as well.
Okay, I think that's just about everyone. Let me try showing him some evidence.
Johnson was rather disorganized. I don't know how he made it to be a reporter. It's no surprise he didn't survive the role. Don't waste my time showing me that. If I thought it meant anything, I certainly wouldn't tell you. Now leave me alone.
Okay, so I guess showing him evidence is pointless. Maybe I can find out what he was doing on the nights of their murders.
I refuse to answer your question except to say I was quite thoroughly and most enjoyably alone all of Saturday. I checked in at 7:30, made sure everything was in order, then stepped down to the Cheshire Cheese. At 10:30 I came back to the office. Johnson had not returned from Brighton, so I sent Oliver on the story. Shortly, we received a call from Victoria Station about the body in the phone box. It turned out to be Johnson.
Okay, so he says he has an alibi for Monday, but he won't tell me anything at all about Saturday. Oh, there's nothing over here. Guess I might as well take a look while I'm here. Greasy planks, each less than a yard wide, provide precarious footing for street-shod visitors. Your examination of the scaffolding reveals that no sane person in street shoes should walk here. Okay, that was pointless. Oliver's still here, probably trying to get out the Wednesday edition of the paper. Ah, she's gone. Okay, let me go back to a previous save and try again. This is why I made multiple save files. This way I can go back to before I even came to the building. I'll just zip through all of this. And we're back. Time to talk to Miss Timmins. But first I'm going to save over my previous save.
I was listening in when Oliver called in to Hemingway. Sounds as if any of the people at the inquest might have killed that girl. That there's that fellow Potts. I'm not sure what to make of it at all. Why, Miss Anderson, what can you be thinking? It's me, Irene, your dear friend and confidant. I'm the receptionist at the Morning Star. Or have you forgotten all the inside dope I've given you?
Now I have to wait for Oliver.
Mark my words, Fisher knows more than he's letting on. He's the fat, smooth kind. I say he's capable of anything, the nasty beast. I'd not be surprised if this man Potts was really her husband. Why else would he have been snooping about the place? As likely as not, Mrs. Tracy left him and took up with this other man. When Potts found out where she was, he took the first chance to murder her and him as well. It's rather surprising Hemingway sent Johnson on that jumble story, him being so young and all. Could be he was setting Johnson up to fire him. Hemingway can be devious that way. He's got a mean temper, all right. Barrow told me Oliver and Johnson scuffled last Saturday night. Then Oliver was none too happy about Johnson getting that jumbles assignment.
There's no telling what a jealous man might do. Oliver knew what train Johnson was coming in on.
Wow, she just suspects everybody, doesn't she?
Mr. Redmond's an odd, brooding fellow. The only time he showed any life was when he and Johnson argued over some woman. It wouldn't surprise me if Redmond saw his chance to kill Johnson down at the station. Beryl's my dearest friend. Not that I agree with the way she leads young men on. Of course, a flower's got to put out the scent to attract the bees, but she ought to find a way to shut it off before a fellow makes a complete fool of himself. She was becoming quite annoyed with Johnson's constant adoration. Poor Johnson. He was quite a pleasant young man. Had a bit of a knack for falling head over heels over women, and always arguing with other men because of it. Why, he used to follow Beryl around like a lost dog. Imagine ending up murdered in a lonely hole like that. Once a girl goes off the rails, it's sure to lead to trouble. If I was to do it, I'd be sure to end up on a villa on the Riviera or something.
All right, Oliver, get out of here. You're not being paid to watch me gossip with my friends. Okay, Irene, where were we? I don't think there was anyone else I wanted to ask her about.
Let's see. After Johnson called for Beryl, I left the office and took the bus straight home. I was hoping you'd call.
Yeah, sorry. Had a murder to check out. Okay, now that she's gone, I can check out this room. The austere hush of this high-ceilinged room is only slightly marred by the low roar of the adjacent newsroom. Your careful search reveals several wads of gum stuck to the underside of the desk by your good friend Miss Timmons. The phone log is here. Monday evening, Johnson for Blackwood, 7:20. Johnson for Hemingway, 7:23. Oliver for Redmond, 8:10. Well, that matches up with what I already know. I'll just write a note about this. Okay, so I'm not sure if I have to go back and talk to Redmond again like I did in the previous save. So just to be safe, I'm going to go do it. And once again, I'll fast forward through the stuff that we've already seen so you don't have to go over it again. Okay, with that done, I'm going to go check out the rest of this news office. The file cabinets, desk, telephone, and even the trash bin sparkle. During your search, you notice that by bending at a certain angle, you can see your reflection in the file handle and the doorknob at the same time. Awesome. Stop the presses! I always wanted to say that. The most interesting discovery you make is that if you reach into the inkwell, your fingers become black. Tuesday's Morning Star is here. Right, now let's go check out all the news that's fit to print. Star reporter stabbed. Major clues stolen. Killer loose in London. By Dennis Oliver. Andrew Johnson, my close colleague and friend, was murdered last night in a phone box at Victoria Station. Earlier in the evening, Mr. Johnson reported that he had discovered the weapon used in the recent Jumbles murder. Inspector Smart. Once again, grab every single thing you can. It never hurts. And as always, I'm going to save before I do anything else. And I think if I wait a little while, the Wednesday edition will be ready, so I'm going to kill some time by talking to this gentleman. I just love the roar of this here press. It's me, your pal Bill, former printer for Modern Star. I done real well, I have. Started out pouring ink, now I runs the old works. T probably doesn't know too much about this case, so I'll see if I can find out anything about the people who work here. Hemingway's the old man about here. Keeps the wheels turning. A bit gruff with the young lads, but he always gets the job done. I swear, if this guy does not say Bob's your uncle at any point, I'm going to be so disappointed. Hardly ever see the bloke. He's a good one, though. Always gets his line on the front page. Scuttlebuys that Ian Johnson was after the same gal. Miss Blackwood, that'd be. You might have to look up his story in the morning paper. Redmond's all business, he is. Keeps it tight after Hemingway's off. Gets the job done. Oh, and he and that Johnson had a tiff over some lice a couple months back.
Miss Blackwood, she's a looker, all right. Has all the boys in a tizzy, she does. Especially Oliver and that poor lad Johnson. Miss Timmins works here like the rest of us. She's a talker, she is. Didn't know Johnson, except nodding the all. Heard about him plenty, though. Always after the ladies. Got more than one scrape about it, too. Once I come upon him and Redmond shoving each other all with some bit of fluff. Then he and Oliver was both sweet on that Blackwood gal.
Let me see if you saw anything suspicious on the night of either murder.
I come in round 7 as usual, make sure the paper was set right. Round 7:15, Hemingway calls me up to his room to change the front page because Johnson's fine. After 10, I checks back with Redmond. Half an hour later, Oliver calls in that Johnson got killed, and I had to do it all over. Barely got to the press that night. Feeling a bit off a loon, eh? I was running easier presses like I always does.
Still got some time, so I'll just start showing him some evidence.
I only gets away from the gallery press. I can't tell you nothing about it.
Oh well.
We had us a time getting this one out. After Johnson called in, Hemingway had me move the whole front page. Then, when Johnson didn't call in, Redmond was yelling for Oliver to write up the story. It was a good thing Johnson got killed, otherwise we'd have a blank front page.
Oh well, same thing. Okay, let me see if the Wednesday paper is here yet. You know what? There were a couple of rooms I didn't get to check out earlier because there were people in them. Let me go see if they're empty now. Come on, Oliver, it's 10:30. Get a life or go home or something. Oh, good. Redmond must be at the pub. Let me check this room out. Clouds of cigarette smoke and the acrid odor of the coal fireplace make the air barely breathable. As you hastily sort through the papers, you discover a quickly scrawled note concerning Johnson. Hemingway's note is here. Okay, where is it? Ugh, I gotta stop forgetting to pick up items. Johnson found murder's weapon, J dagger, carved man's head on handle, scene at shop, Bond Street. Will catch 9 o'clock train Brighton. Call Redmond. Alright, time to head back. Oliver, do you ever leave? Well, at least I can see if the Wednesday paper is there yet. Nope. Okay, maybe it's time to call it a night. No, he's not ready for sleep yet either. Maybe I should go explore outside. If I recall, that bar that Redmond was talking about earlier is nearby. Maybe I'll talk to that kid on the way back. Ah, here it is, the Cheshire Cheese. I have no idea what that means. And as I suspected, here's Redmond, but I think I've already gotten everything from him I want, so let me see if the bartender has anything to tell me. Yo, barkeep. I'm wondering if you like gin gimlets or if you're the type who drinks straight tonic. Is that a thing? Do people drink tonic straight? Redmond's been drinking like a fish the last 2 weeks. He's always been heavy on the scotch, but never like this. Just sits alone swallowing one after another, no matter what time it is. Something's gone sour on him, you can bet. Let's see if anything interesting happened here on the night of Johnson's murder. I was tending bar as usual. Redmond was in from 8 to 9:30. Oliver came in 10:30 and belted down a quick one. I haven't seen him do that before. Huh. That doesn't seem to quite sync up with what Redmond told me he was doing that night. Okay, now let me ask him about some other people. Oliver's a bright boy.
I can spot him when they come along. Not much of a drinker, but he spins a fine story. Sometimes he'll have the whole pub laughing for hours. Hemingway's been coming in for years. He fancies our steak and kidney pie. Generally takes a pint of ale with lunch, then 2 or 3 scotches after work. He's one cocktails for any occasion.
Oh, I might as well ask him about the night of the Tracy murder, too.
Saturday night? Let's see. It seemed the usual crowd. Oh, yes, Redmond came in about 10. He made a real sort of himself, and then a blubber about some woman. I didn't pay him any mind. I just called him a cab and sent him home.
Okay, well, if nothing else, that used up some time. Let's go see if that flower boy has anything to say. And of course, I'm going to save first. First, I'll see if he saw anything interesting, then I'll ask him about the people who work at the Morning Star.
I took a bunch of pansies to my mom.
Riveting.
A few months back, Mr. Hemingway was buying bunches of roses and gladiolas every afternoon. He doesn't give the flowers a look anymore.
Okay, well, I do kind of wonder about that, but I have no idea if it has anything to do with the case.
Mr. Oliver's been buying a single red rose every day for the last month. I guess he's got his eye on someone.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Mr. Redmond's a nasty son. Why, just last Friday he kicked over a bucket of tulips when he passed. Didn't even stop to say sorry. Miss Blackwood buys a bunch of daisies every Monday. On her half days, she's always good for a spray of violets. Every once in a while, Miss Timmins would treat herself to a gardenia. Johnson was one for lilies. I'd guess he'd give 'em to some girl.
This kid's making a killing. Well, that about does it. You keep at it, kid. Keep on going until those child labor laws get passed. Okay, hopefully the paper's there now, and then I can go get some sleep. Aha, there it is. Oh, I forgot to pick it up again. Inquest evidence points to friend slash jeweler, brother at bungalow, mother mourns only son by Dennis Oliver. Henry Fisher, the prominent jeweler and friend of the late Geraldine Tracy, admitted in yesterday's inquest that he was at the Lonely Jumbles bungalow Saturday night. Fisher further stated that, now has enough time passed that I can go to sleep? Nope. Well, let's see if we can take a look at that place that Oliver refuses to leave. Hey, he moved. Ha ha ha. Oh, right. I already checked this room out before. Okay. Well, I haven't been to Piccadilly yet. That's where Tracy used to work. Maybe I can go check that out. As always, save first. Bond Street, that's where Fisher's store is. I gotta go there tomorrow. Hello? Anyone here? Guess not. Is that Mosher's menswear or Mosher's menswear? I used to do some moshing back in the day, but that's probably not what they mean. Right, well, here's Madame Evanelda's, where Geraldine Tracy used to work, and Amethyst Men wearing too. And I always wonder what's up with that face in the corner there. Look at that. What is that? Hats with veils, with feathers and flowers, plain pill hats, and garish hats with stuffed birds revolve on the hat racks. The layer of dust covering some of the more garish hats shows that they have not been lifted from the rack in ages. Well, that restores my faith in humanity somewhat. Alright, I'm probably not going to be able to end this day until midnight, so I'll just look around and see what else I can do. Oh, here we go. This seems like a good time to make a new save file.
Fancy you turning up at my flat at this late hour. I can't imagine what you want here. You may call me Amethyst, dear. I'm a model and a saleswoman at Madame Abandonware's. I also am a frequent dancer in the evenings at Piccadilly Palace. Geraldine told me he sold blocks of flats or battleships or something, but I believe that was a bit of fiction. She pointed him out to me once. He didn't look the part of the salesman, much more gentlemanly than that. He was large-framed and rather dark. Might have had a bit of a mustache. I only had a glimpse. Geraldine wrote me once about Mr. Fisher. Said he was kind and quite generous. She thought she might throw over Mr. Tracy for him. He does look like an interesting gentleman. Arthur used to come about from time to time. He's a sweet man. I believe he'd be rather handsome if not for that nasty scar. Geraldine did get on with her one bit. She'd have sacked her if Mr. Tracy would have given her enough to hire a decent servant. Beryl and I were quite chummy at one time. She and Geraldine and I were a regular trio dancing every Saturday at the Piccadilly. We had some wonderful fun. Andrew was a nice boy, even though he was a bit of a sap. He used to send me flowers with silly little poems. Once he was reciting on bended knee when Mr. Redmond came in. Redmond was absolutely livid. I heard they nearly came to blows over it. After that, I told them not to come by anymore. It's not the type of drama I'm interested in. Well, now we know who the woman who that Redmond and Johnson fought over was. Geraldine and I were the dearest friends. We worked and played together constantly. Then that Mr. Tracy came and swept her away. Poor dear Geraldine. She wrote me twice after that, but it simply wasn't the same. Oh, you mean Harry. He used to come about quite a bit. He's an odd fellow, he is. Got a bit sticky with me and thought I ought to run off with him. I'd have none of it and told him so. I mean, why should a girl cut herself off for the sake of a little security? Especially with someone she's not truly fond of. Wow, his name is Harry. Well, I closed up the shop at 7, then stopped at the Piccadilly Palace for a cocktail. At 9, I went home since I had to be up early Tuesday to get to Brighton. I spent the evening dancing at the Savoy. I met the most interesting gentleman. Would you care to accompany me there this Saturday? Okay, that about does it for Amethyst Manwaring. Let's find out who else lives on this block, since I still got about 20 minutes to kill. Oh look, Beryl Blackwood lives here too. You know, I just realized that Beryl and Amethyst are both gemstones. I'm looking at the lilies Johnson sent last week. Oh, they're a bit wilted now, but they mean so much to me. I think I'll press them and save them forever and ever. I'm the manager's secretary at the Morning Star. Young men seem to fancy me a great deal. It's rather to be expected. After all, I am good-looking and very intelligent. Mr. Johnson was quite infatuated with me before he was killed, and I can have my way with Miss Oliver whenever I want. Gee, Beryl, don't have to be so modest. Dennis Oliver is a sweet, gentle man. He is, however, becoming rather sure of himself now that Johnson is gone. Acts as if I haven't the right to speak to any other men. It makes me weep to even think of him. Poor man. He was a bit boring the way he mooned over me, but all the same, devotion is not the worst fault a man can have. I certainly did not know Miss Potts, or Mrs. Tracy, or whoever she was. Still, One must have compassion for someone who comes to such a tragic end. Not that she didn't bring it on herself. As I always say, if you can't be good, be careful.
Huh. Interesting.
Mr. Hemingway has a nasty temper, all right? Last Friday he screamed at Johnson for bungling his story. You could hear it clear into the hall. I don't know Mr. Redmond well, nor do I care to. He strikes me as a strange fellow, exceedingly quiet, yet given a flying off the handle at the slightest thing. Miss Timmins is a dear friend of mine. She always has something interesting to say, even about the dreariest subjects. She's a friend of yours, isn't she? A respectable girl does not become involved with women whose reputations are, shall we say, somewhat dubious.
Well, that's very interesting, because Manwaring said that her and Blackwood used to be good friends, but she's claiming she doesn't know Manwaring or Tracy.
I was leaving at 7 when Johnson rang through. He told me about his find and began to get a bit syrupy, calling me darling and all. I put him through to Hemingway, then gathered my things and left. I took a long walk to sort things out. Why, I tidied up my flat Saturday afternoon, then dined with Oliver that evening. Oliver accompanied me home, and poor Johnson was waiting on my doorstep just like a lost puppy. I was quite afraid they would come to blows. I told them how silly they were, then went into my flat, alone. Johnson did speak with me before I switched him over to Mr. Hemingway. It was the last conversation we had, and to think I was so cross with him. I feel like weeping when I think about it. I think it's simply ghastly that Oliver should write such a thing, and it's even more awful that you should show it to me. I've really had too much to bear already. That's not how Johnson described the weapon to me. He said it was a woman's head with snakes all over.
Okay, let me write this down, because that sounds important. And yeah, Johnson's note in here does say that he described it as a Medusa head.
Those are the last words Johnson ever wrote. Please let me have it. I've made a scrapbook of Johnson as a kind of memorial to him. It would mean ever so much to me.
Miss Blackwood's display of emotion overwhelms you, and against your better judgment, you give her Johnson's note. Well, crap, that's not good. I didn't want to give away the items that I have. Okay, I'm going to backtrack and then I'm going to go through the Manwaring and Blackwood conversations again and not give over Johnson's note this time. Alright, and now I'm going to save just to make sure I don't accidentally give anything to her this time. Okay, so that's done, and it's 12 o'clock exactly. So, time to get some sleep. You realize you've become very sleepy and cannot properly carry out your investigation in this state. You make your way home and fall quickly asleep. In your dream last night, Mr. Redmond assigned you to compress droplets of water. As you squeezed each one, it doubled until you were nearly drowning. In a sea of tears. You're awakened by the ringing phone. It's Mr. Whitewell who shouts, "What makes you think I'll pay you for sleeping?" Alright, and that concludes Tuesday. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. First, we have Oliver's journal. He wrote in it that Johnson is gone and his way is now clear. Given that we know that Oliver and Johnson were both interested in Beryl Blackwood, that's probably what Oliver's referring to here. So, this is either a red herring, or if Oliver is Johnson's killer, then this right here is his motive. At the inquest, we met Amethyst Manwaring and Henry Fisher. Manwaring was Geraldine Tracy's closest friend, and Fisher was having an affair with her behind her husband's back. Inspector Smart of Scotland Yard thinks that Fisher is the most likely suspect, but I don't personally think so. Fisher is the one who discovered her body, But we know through our investigation that Mr. Tracy was at the house before Fisher and left in a big hurry. He seems like a much more likely suspect to me. Also at the inquest was Gladys Sharp, who is the former housekeeper for the Tracys. We didn't learn much from her during the inquest, but afterwards we saw a very interesting conversation between her and Fisher. Sharp has some stolen jewels that she took from someone possibly that she works for, and she's going to sell them to Fisher later this week. He's nervous because he thinks this might be used as evidence against him. So I'm planning on meeting up with Fisher tomorrow. Hopefully, I can find out more about all this. We also met a man named Arthur Potts who is skulking around the Tracy house. He says that he's Geraldine's brother, and other people have met him too, but there was a letter that we found in Geraldine Tracy's bedroom that indicates that he may not be who he claims to be. He mentions that he lives in Southampton, so I'll have to go down there and check that out probably tomorrow. There's a lot going on with the murder weapon from both murders, the jade-headed pin. It appears that it belonged to Geraldine Tracy, and Johnson described it to Hemingway, but for whatever reason, Hemingway wrote it down looking different from what Johnson said, both in his note and what he told Beryl Blackwood. So that about sums it up. Please join me next time for Wednesday. Be safe out there.